Yeah, I'm a strong believer that movement is still medicine, right? My thought process is listen to your body. Don't try to overdo it, but don't try to come back from it too quickly. Obviously lacking. So what I want to look forward to in the off season, for me, typically the periodization looks like a lot more strength work in the off season and staying healthy, obviously. So then I'll start following a program come maybe September-ish.
Jenn, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast. Welcome back to the Jedburgh podcast.
Happy to be here.
I'm super excited because now this is two events in a row that we've closed out with you.
That's right. I'm the closer.
You're the closer.
My nickname can be the closer now. I'll take it.
You are, and so we're super fortunate to have the chance to sit down with you at Wodapalooza, and the story now that we get to tell. Who would have known, right? But you knew. Okay, we didn't know at the time. But the story we get to tell is that Wodapalooza, when we sat down with you, you couldn't compete, and you had to pull out a competition. And we sit here with you on halfway through Sunday, and you finished third in the women's masters division on the podium. So congratulations.
Thank you. It feels good. It felt good to have my body cooperating the way that I'm used to it cooperating. That was helpful.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the mindset.
Yeah.
Let's start there, right? And I want to talk about the competition and get into what it was like competing here this year. But talk about the mindset, because we did last time, and when you were at Wodapalooza and you had to pull out of the competition, what was going through your mind as you left there with the start of the season on the horizon? I think it was like 2 weeks later the season started. What were you thinking?
Well, I was just really bummed that the way the season started out with that first competition, it ended in an injury and me not being able to do that. And I've actually, I've never really withdrawn from an event before due to an injury. I've just been able to push through it. So that was a little bit frustrating, but also at the end of the day, I knew that wasn't the big picture end goal for the year. So I knew my season hadn't started yet officially. So I guess I wasn't really going into the season on a low. I was just going into it knowing, okay, you've got to be careful. Like, be mindful of what you're doing and just make sure you take care of everything. If you start feeling something, hurting, getting strained, overdoing like certain movements, you just got to be careful with it. So that was my mindset leaving Wodapalooza. Unfortunately, that injury it never went away. Anytime I still do strict pull-ups, I shift really bad and I get really severe pain. I never got any imaging or anything afterwards. I'm not really someone that's
my style.
Super concerned on that. Even when I fractured my hand in 2021 at West Coast Classic, I didn't get an X-ray until the Wednesday after we got back. Like, I tried to go to work, I tried to do all the things. So I'm like, well, whatever, So I knew there was something not right with it, but I'm always just a believer that your body will heal. So I tried to do all the right things to strengthen all the areas around it, got some body work done, made sure I just took the right precautions and preemptive measures to take care of the area. So I've had some flare-ups. I competed at the individual semifinals, and there were literally every event, I think, was some sort of upper body pulling. So trying to practice for that, and you're sport specific at that point, about a week and a half to 2 weeks out. So you're doing all those movements, and then actually starting about 5 days beforehand, I had to stop doing all of that. So a week before, I stopped doing any of the muscle ups with the rucksack because it was so strained again and hurting. So I just wanted to make sure I could compete. So I think that was really smart of me. I felt it happening, and again, just being cognizant, even leading into this competition about a week and a half ago, I started feeling it getting strained again because we were doing a lot of upper body movements. So I just said, look, I'm not going to do certain movements. I trust myself and my capacity leading into the games, and you just have to be smart. So I just try to keep a positive and smart mindset.
Yeah. 5 days before, you're not going to gain more strength.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to get any better at the gymnastics movements or anything like that. So,
yeah. I think everyone deals with injuries. What are some of the ways that people can take care of things on their own? Not that they shouldn't go get imaging, but like the small things we can all do to help us recover after a workout. And if you have a tweak, things you should be doing to help take care of it, help recover faster.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer that movement is still medicine, right? My thought process is listen to your body. Don't try to overdo it, but don't try to come back from it too quickly. So after a workout, you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to how you feel after that adrenaline comes down, because you're not going to feel much during a workout. You know, you might feel a little something, but the adrenaline is actually a great pain reliever, you know?
So strong.
Yes.
Pain masker.
100%. So you do have to pay attention, I think, once that adrenaline wears off and after a workout. Hey, how is my body feeling? What areas do I need to stretch? Is there a way I can put some of my finances towards getting some body work done every couple of weeks, right? Finding a good chiropractor, a very good, physio, sports physio, someone who specializes in keeping athletes moving. And you don't have to be an elite athlete to utilize that type of service. You want to find, even if you're a weekend warrior or someone who's just into fitness, if you're working hard and moving your body, while it is really good for you, you might get some little tweaks or strains or tightness. And so I think if you can find a practitioner who is well versed and interested in keeping someone moving, that's the key to it. That's what I tell people to look for.
Yeah. Have you found like certain keywords that are good for searching, like if you're going online to find someone near you, certain specialties that you find work really well?
So I've just been very blessed to have a lot of referrals, and the places that I've been training at have had really good practitioners. So I haven't really had to look it up. I have tried to help people that I coach in their cities try to look for places or given them specific people to look for. Hey, don't just go to a regular this sounds terrible, but not just a chiropractor who's getting someone in to do just a regular adjustment, right? And there's time and place for that, but you also maybe want to search out someone in a physical therapist who maybe goes above and beyond the regular protocols of just what insurance will pay for. And that again is really hard to tell someone to do, to be like, hey, you might have to pay more out of pocket, because just like a lot of our physicians these days, these practitioners are like physical therapists. A lot of times they can only do so much for what insurance will pay for. And what I have found is if that's all you're searching for, you might just kind of get what you're paying for. So sometimes you have to go above and beyond and reach out to different athletes in the area, right? I always tell people, search out a CrossFit in the area and ask them who they go to, because we as CrossFitters aren't just looking for someone to keep me going, right? I'm looking for someone to keep me functioning and thriving. And so I think we search those people out. That's what I do. I don't just go to, general population practitioners who take my insurance. I go to the best of the best, and it's because I want to make sure that I'm able to keep moving, and they're not just going to tell me, well, don't move or don't do these things, or here, do these little exercises that they're using on an 85-year-old. I'm like, well, I'm 43. I need to keep moving. I need to be shown how to actually strengthen and do all these things. I need something more than just a general protocol. So that's what I'm telling people to look for. I'm not always saying, hey, just Google this or look for this word. Reach out to people in the area who do train hard or work hard, they're going to know who to go to.
Yeah, it's definitely a little extra work to find someone exceptional.
Yep.
but the difference in results that you get is so huge that it is really worth the investment of time.
You know, you do CrossFit for 2 or 3 months, you might not see the numbers change on the scale, you might not feel like, but if you can show people with data, like you're actually improving, you just hit a PR, you're getting better.
Gym owners were able to just basically click a button and get all the resources and tools that we were using for our gyms at a fraction of what it would cost them.
Like if gyms provide a better product on the floor by having better coaches, their business is going to be healthier. They're going to have better retention and have all those other features. And coaching is a skill that needs to be developed. We are, I would argue, the most product-focused company in our space. And the way we create value is by building better, we build product. In 2012, we told gyms to put TVs on their walls and we got laughed at. And go in any CrossFit gym in the world now and you're probably going to see a TV on the wall. But we're just constantly pushing the envelope with innovation.
Definitely.
Let's talk about the games. So coming into the games, great season because you're qualified to be here. So as you looked at the competition, talk a minute about the competition, because what we've seen here over the last week and before we started, you were asking about, is this the first games we've been to? And both of us are just immediately to say we're so impressed. I mean, it's so impressive to see these athletes, and I think for a long time, a perspective becomes, that CrossFit's a workout, right? It's not a sport. And one of the things that I come away from this event with, even having gone through our CrossFit journey this year, and I don't know if you know, but we were fortunate enough after Wodapalooza, Don Fall invited us to go to the level 1 trainer certificate course. So we both went through that together.
Nice. We passed.
We passed first time. So that was cool. A little nerve-wracking, but we got it right.
Great info.
Yeah, and learned so much. And so we've gone through this journey this year, but you come here and you realize that these athletes are right on par with NFL players and Major League Baseball players. You name the sport, they are up there at that elite level, and it is truly impressive to look across that field. So talk about the field and how competitive it really is.
In my particular age group, the field is amazing. You've got Sam Briggs, who was an individual games podium finisher, right? She won the CrossFit Games. She stood on the podium. And then you've got Becca Voigt, who's also stood on the podium as an individual. I mean, these two women are phenomenal, and they're still going. Then you have
Jenn Ryan.
Well, but then, and then you have a woman, Andrea Pinheiro, who comes from Brazil, and she's competed in numerous competitions at the semifinals level with the individuals, and in Dubai, she's made a great name for herself. And then you have so many of the other women that, one woman in particular has competed in Olympic weightlifting, and so many of the other women that I competed with had also been to the games before. So just the level of experience in my age group alone in the 40 to 44-year-old division is crazy. And then you have the 35 to 39-year-old division, and again, numerous multi-time individual games qualifiers, podium finishers in the men and women's side. So that was crazy to see, just the level of competition in the masters field is amazing, because you're seeing these previous individual athletes still going and now, competing.
This is an important point because it's longevity.
Yeah.
And one of the stigmas that's been around CrossFit for so long is that you can't do it for long because you're going to blow out your back, you're going to hurt your knees, you're going to do some aggressive movement that's going to put you in the hospital or hurt you. But it's not true.
No, the first place finisher in the women's 50 to 54-year-old division, Cheryl Brost, do you know she competed as an individual 10 years ago? 15, she made it 2 to 3 times as a elite individual. That must have been when she was like 40 years old, and she's still going and she's taking first place, so she's must be doing, I don't even know how long she's been doing this now, but to go from that level and still be taking first place now in her 50s is crazy. Like, that just speaks to the longevity of how resilient she is. you
Yeah.
know? She's had injuries along the way, a few surgeries, but a lot of it is just because we work really hard, we push really hard, and all the repetitiveness. Sure, you have to remember, elite level sport, you may see some wear and tear, but the fact that these athletes are still coming back and taking the podium is crazy. It speaks to what CrossFit can do for you, and just that you can have longevity in the sport.
Yeah, you just have to be smart.
Yep.
Good coaches.
Yeah. Or crazy.
Or both.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you have to have a little bit of sanity to
Yeah.
do it right, to be smart.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm loving watching the Masters right now, because I think that's something our culture needs so much of. Like, I talk to so many adults and especially adult women who just don't know what they have to strive for, who are intimidated to start things, to start new sports, new athletics, because they don't know what's possible.
Yeah.
And especially for me, seeing that and being like, I have so much to strive for still. So much is possible.
Yeah, and a lot of people think, oh, I'm starting too late. But if you talk to numerous athletes in the Masters division, many of them didn't start at a younger age. I mean, if you think about it, when I started, I was 29 when I started CrossFit, and the women in my age group kind of the same, right? They were right around that same age. And it doesn't have to be that you've got to start in your teens or your 20s. And then there are also some women and men who didn't start until they were in their late 30s or even in their 40s. And now you see them in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They're doing this CrossFit thing. So you don't have to get started early. There is no timeline, right? People think, oh, I got started late in the game, but you're really not. You're not starting too late in the game because there's no timeline.
Right. Yeah. Maybe you're starting too late to be the 20 to 30-year-old champion.
Right. Yes.
But I mean, it's never too late to grow stronger.
Yeah. And there's so many competitions out there now that are available, especially for the Masters. That's just becoming more and more prevalent, that even if someone is in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, 60s, and they don't feel that they are ready to do an open age group competition, there's so many opportunities for Masters now that they can feel comfortable just getting started in it and getting that feeling. Because I think I feel like we talked about this on our previous podcast, but there is just nothing like getting out there, even if it's a local competition. It's just such an amazing feeling, Gives people something to strive for, and I think once they feel it, you get addicted to it.
Yes. Yeah, pushing your limits and seeing that you can go farther than you thought is such an amazing feeling, and having a little bit of competition helps you push into that zone that maybe you didn't know was there.
Yeah, and you find people that are in your same mindset as well, right? Or people who enjoy those same things. Many Masters athletes don't have the same support or community maybe in the world of health and wellness as maybe somebody who's in their 20s, just because of general society. And so they have a hard time feeling like they can find a group of people or some other people that they can share, fitness and health and everything with. But if you get involved in some of these Masters communities and some of the competitions, you're going to meet people, and it's cool to stay in touch. Even if someone's not in your same city or area, you can stay in touch, and at least you feel like you've got someone to keep you going and motivated, where maybe your general group of people you're around may not share the same interests with you.
Yeah, I know. I love seeing my mom trains with a lot of other ninjas. She's 71. She's competing in ninja, and there's no one else who's 71 competing with her. But like, she's just so welcomed into the community with all the 25-year-olds. She's just one of them,
awesome.
you know?
So
And it's like
awesome.
when you share that bond of fitness and pushing yourself, age stops being a factor in a lot of ways. I think at least for that connection.
Yeah, it keeps you feeling younger too when you're just hanging out with all the younger people, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell me about some of your favorite parts of competing this weekend? Like maybe what was your favorite event or move? Did you have any new challenges that you hadn't tried before?
Yeah, what was my favorite event? Okay, I have to tell you, and I know nobody's gonna be surprised. I think my favorite event was Helen because the combination of those movements and like the time domain is.
Hold on, tell our
Yeah.
our
Oh,
viewers what
I
is Helen.
apologize.
Yeah.
So CrossFit has many benchmark workouts, and Helen happens to be one of them. So it's 3 rounds of 400-meter run, 21 kettlebell swings, and 12 pull-ups.
Okay.
Kettlebell swings are fairly light. For the women, it's 35 pounds, men 53 pounds, I believe. So it's short, fast, and light, little bit of gymnastics, but you just got to go. There's no pacing it. And to me, that's like a signature kind of workout for me. And I loved it. I loved just being able to get out there and just go. And anything with running and gymnastics and a light, weight is kind of my jam. So I enjoyed it. That was my favorite. Plus I took first on it, so I think that has to be a moment. But I also love the gymnastics chipper. A lot of body weight stuff, things like that, of course, are some of my favorites. The other one that I have to say was a favorite moment was lifting out on the field, the Olympic total. That's how we started, the Masters started our competition. And that was one of my favorite moments because you kind of get the jitters out by just going and lifting heavy. A little bit technical, but at the same time, there is nothing like bars at a competition. The bars at a competition of like this caliber, there's fly up there. Like the weights feel good. You're just like, I can do this. So I think that was one of my other favorite moments, was just getting to do the Olympic weightlifting total. So that was fun.
Nice.
Well, we just had the chance to go out onto the field here after the teams and the men and the women completed their final events on North Park, and had the experience of on the rings and then going over the increasing height logs, which when you're watching, you're looking at it going, well, all right, jump up on the log, get over it.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And then you try to get out there, and the first 2 look pretty good. And you get to that third one, and there's some rejection going on.
That was amazing.
Rejection for who?
Well, as I sit here with pieces of the log embedded into my shin, both arms, and my clothes.
Jessie
mostly
looks
me.
unscathed.
Jessie looked good.
Yeah, unscathed over here.
I was surprised by how high they are though. Like that's not the kind of thing that I'm just like vaulting over,
Yeah.
Like I'm walking up to that and being like, oh, this is as tall as my head. Can I just jump up there? How, like, I'm having to strategize to be like, how do I not waste time scrambling over this?
Yeah.
Like that's legit. How many times did they have to do that? And they're like launching giant heavy bags over.
Well, they were
Yeah.
throwing the bags over it
Yeah,
too.
then they had to throw the bags over. Yeah, because the teams had to do that too. So both
Yeah.
the teams and individuals. Yeah.
Question on that. Would they have been allowed to, like, instead of toss the bag over, can they place it on top, climb over, and then continue carrying it to save the trouble of bending down and picking it up again?
I suppose you could, but I wonder if when they placed it on top, when they went to jump over, if it would just fall anyways, you know?
I wonder if it would be worth the extra effort of balancing it.
I feel like at that point, you're just like, oh my gosh, please just go over.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if I'd be worried about placing it on top. At
Yeah.
my height, I'd just be thinking, please just go over and don't come right back down on me and pummel me.
Yeah.
It's hot out there.
I mean,
too.
you'd have to have it clear over your head before it would be even touching the log
Yeah.
on that last one. That's crazy.
I'll really hoist that thing.
That's crazy. And that was the women's height.
Yeah. So what's the plan? The event's going to wrap up here in the next little bit. We're going to head over and watch the final few events, watch them crown the winners and the podium finishers. What's your plan now for the off season and start looking forward to next year?
Plan. I say this every year, But
You're not going to walk away, so don't even say it.
I'm ready to take a little time just to get some things figured out. But that's kind of how the off season always starts. And then you kind of decide how the body feels, what the programming, for yourself looks like, and just start mapping things out again. But no real big plans yet. I think I am going to go compete at the Masters Fitness Championship in October in Fort Wayne. Ooh. I'd like to do a 2-person team. I don't think that in the off season I want to do any individual events this year. I'd really maybe like to do team. If I do any, I think I'd like to do team. Wodapalooza does have a 3-person Masters team now. I wasn't sure if I was going to do it, so maybe I will. We'll see. I try not to think too far ahead. I don't even know what's going to happen Tuesday after I get back, so I don't know. I haven't.
You've got Tuesday planned?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I know tomorrow's planned because I have to catch my flight.
Yeah.
I don't know what's even happening Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get through this first week back.
Yeah.
And then kind of decide what the rest of the year and season looks like. A lot of changes coming in CrossFit anyways, so we'll see. We'll see what everything looks like for next year anyhow. And I think if you don't try to put too much into planning, you can adapt and adjust to change a little more easily and readily. And I don't adapt to change very easily or readily, so I think I'm going to try not to plan for anything until we get a little closer to January.
That's
Yeah.
CrossFit. It's constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity.
Yeah.
Well
that
done,
means you
Fran.
don't get a choice. You just get to do.
I'm still working on the execution part, but yeah.
As far as periodizing, what's a healthy amount of time? Because this was a huge event, like the culmination of the whole year.
Yeah.
It's really smart to take that downtime afterwards. If you were intentionally periodizing and planning it, what is an optimal amount of time to just really chill after?
If I'm being intentional about it, I'll probably take through August to just kind of do what I want, enjoy it. Obviously, I still like to sweat. I still like to feel weights. I still like to do things, but I won't follow any program for the next 4 weeks or so. And then we'll sit down and have a talk with the coaches and just kind of decide what we saw in this season, where I made progress, where I might still be obviously lacking. So what I want to look forward to in the off season. For me, typically the periodization looks like a lot more strength work in the off season and staying healthy, obviously. So then I'll start following a program come maybe September-ish. But that approach typically looks like more strength work, obviously keeping your capacity up, but not as many CrossFit style workouts.
Yeah.
More so just some zone 2, doing what I enjoy, but also making sure I'm staying on the machines, because again, strength and the machine work is something I need to do. Even in the off season, because it's I just have to build that up. But then leading into more December, January, things start kicking up a little bit more, where you start changing a little bit more of the focus into, all right, we got to get a little more high intensity in there. You got to remember how that hurt feels, and when you don't do it for a little while, that hurt feels bad. And I remember it's like that starts happening, and I'm like, how was I so fit at the games last year? I can't do this anymore. And then things start coming around and you start remembering. But yeah, that's kind of the periodized approach that if you're being intentional about it, or for myself, that's kind of how it looks.
Yeah. It is an emotional roller coaster when you're like facing that again for the first time. How do you talk yourself through that? Because especially for people who have maybe been out of shape for a while, that's a pretty intimidating factor to overcome.
Yeah, it feels pretty much like an uphill battle at first. But having gone through this now multiple times, I just talk myself through it and say, it's okay that there is an adaptation period. There's a point where you just have to endure that part of it in order to get back to where you want to be. And I also talk to myself about, well, hey, look at the improvements you've made on strength, on these other areas, right? So you have to keep the good stuff in mind too, because inevitably, if you're periodizing correctly, you've improved in some other areas, right? And so, you know, if you're taking a bit of a focus away from something else, then you may not be quite as good at it when you try to go right back to it. So those are the things I try to talk myself through. It's challenging, and you know, I have my moments where I will say to the coaches, I've lost it. There must be something wrong with me. But then I have to put it all into perspective and again, think about what I've actually been focusing on, and remember in years past now, okay, this is how it goes. And that's what I try to like talk to the newer people about it as well, and just let them know, hey, this starts to improve. Yes, it starts to feel pretty terrible the first few weeks as you're adapting, but it gets better. You know?
Yeah. It feels terrible, but that's normal, and it will pass, and then you're going to be better than you imagined.
Yeah. Nice. And then you can make yourself feel even more terrible, but just at a better pace.
I think that's going to sum up our off season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've got plans to try lots of new things.
Yeah.
So we'll
get after
have
it.
lots of good growing pains and be better for it.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome for that advice.
Thank you for,
Yes, thank you, Jenn.
when we get worried.
I love it.
Don't get worried.
Come back to this one.
Right. Well, remember, Jenn said we're okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine.
Well, Jenn, thanks for sitting down with us again. You closed out Wodapalooza with us. You're closing out the games with us. I take so much from these conversations. Last time we talked all about nutrition and every aspect, and we went so deep on here. And here it was about performance and actually how do we train, right? And I can go back and listen to these things, and now I just got to start executing them just like Jenn does. And I don't think I'll hit the podium, but I think I'll feel better about it. But I did my first ring. Inversion?
Oh, yeah. We got him all the way upside down.
No way.
Yeah,
See?
and I held it.
That's where it starts. There's no timeline. Remember,
it.
There's no timeline to your next step, which will be the muscle up.
That's it. Hey, look, I got all the way up here too.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
get
ring
it. I'll have it.
pull-ups.
Don't worry. Next year I'll show you.
Wait. I can't wait to see that. That's going to be a completely different video than the bloopers I just saw.
We're still going to put the bloopers in
Okay,
there
good.
because it's all about progress.
Those are
And
essential.
people need to laugh at me. That's what we like. That's what we like.
With you.
With me.
Yes. Yeah, because you were laughing.
You have to.
You are now, at
You
least.
have to laugh.
Yeah.
I cried for a second. So, Jenn, thanks so
Full
much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Good day.
That was awesome.
American Jedburghs went out to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Directorate of the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Jesse Graff, Talent War Group, and our CrossFit Games sponsors, U.S. Army, Wodapalooza, GoRuck, and Hero Coffee on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, or X. Send your comments and inquiries to fran@jedburghpodcast.com. As a former member of Special Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast donates a percentage of all proceeds to the Green Beret Foundation, supporting America's Special Forces and their families. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.